Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sandars, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sandars is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live. 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hi everyone, welcome to Making Money with Laura Sandars, and I am your host, Laura Sandars. Every week we talk about something to help you make a little money, save a little money, or maybe just help you navigate this crazy world that we live in. And today we're here with Nick Fiorello, attorney with JK Closing Attorneys, to talk about deed requirements and what can create a deed to become invalid. You know, most people think that when you're hiring a company to do your closing, that everything's going to be right. And then when you go to sell 20 years later, and I love when my clients say to me, everything's perfect, everything's fine, until it's not. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me.
So I have a situation recently where I actually have two situations, but one with you right now that you guys are helping us to take care of. I have a client that their mother had passed away recently, very unexpectedly, and they had a condo to sell, and the condo actually isn't really worth a lot of money at all, actually. And she bought it back in 2004, and they forgot to put the unit number on the deal back in 2004. It was actually a foreclosure at the time.
Yeah, the bank owned the property, and when the deed was created, no, not at that time. It was a foreclosure before that.
Oh, okay. When she bought it, and so that was actually done right. And then when she sold it to my client's mother, then it was missed to put the unit number on it.
So now your client, because
22 years later,
is trying to sell. They think they own the whole building now. As a joke, he told me, he's like, "Do I own the whole building now because they forgot the unit?"
Oh, that's
Fortunately,
interesting.
that's not how it works. You have to actually have what you're conveying, and whoever conveyed it didn't have the rights to the entire building. So no, that's not the case. But yeah, in this case, and it happens quite frequently, especially in the time, mid 2000s into that crazy 2008, where things were just happening pretty quickly. There are a lot of mistakes, and a lot of those companies that handled the closings back then aren't in existence anymore, unfortunately, because that would help resolve some issues, or get some contact information, or do whatever we need to find somebody to correct something. Like in this case, they're missing a unit number of the legal description. So that's a huge aspect that probably could have been corrected by a scrivener's affidavit or something at the time. But because it's so long, time has passed, and that closing agent's not active anymore, then this becomes something that we need a corrective deed for. And that's what we're trying to do. But
the funny part is, it's so common sense. Like,
it is.
It's like, here's the unit. This is what they own. They've lived there for all this time, and yet it's not that easy.
No, and a deed itself isn't that complicated.
No,
it's a 1 or 2 page document that transfers the title of the property. It needs the parties identified, so you need to have the grantor and the grantee identified. You need to have the correct legal description, which is our issue here. You need to have the marital status of the grantor in particular, because if there's a spouse involved, what if they're not on title? If it's homestead, then due to Florida laws, that the joinder of the spouse needs to be on that deed. They need to sign, they need to approve the sale, so to speak, and it needs to be duly notarized and witnessed. And now, over the last couple of years, there's been a couple additions to deed conveyances and deed transfers. 2004, they required witness addresses to be added on a deed. So I've seen a couple deeds get rejected by counties because they weren't prepared correctly. And the only thing that was missing were the witness addresses. Or the witness names need to be, they need to be written where they're legible to read. And I've seen them get kicked back because they're not
oh my God, legible.
They're not legible. So that was
Got
funny.
me when my tongue tied.
Got us, cat got our tongues. So I've seen it get kicked back over several little minutia of a detail, that something that when you're doing it quickly or you don't have the proper guidance or proper company to help you complete something so simple. And yeah, it's a complex legal document that transfers title, but in reality, it's a real simple document. It can cause issues down the road. And, in our case, we have a situation where a mother bought the property. 15 years later, she did a ladybird deed, which we've talked about in the past.
How did they not catch it?
Because usually it's just a quitclaim deed. They're not doing a search on title. They're not doing anything like that. But what I do when I look at something, when I'm doing a quitclaim deed for somebody, I'm going to the back deeds. I'm looking at the last couple of deeds to make sure that the legal description I have is matching that. So what I would see is, I'd look back at the last deed, I would see that there was no unit number, but then the deed before that has a unit number. So which one's correct? Obviously the one with the unit number would be correct. Obviously. You'd have to go back even further and look at the,
So when she did the ladybird deed, did that break the chain of title for using your title policy?
It could. It could not.
So would that have been something we could have used?
We could, but trying to find that was another avenue.
Oh, the policy.
The policy. Because it might not break the policy because it's not changing hands. Now it has changed hands after the death after she passed away.
So then the policy is no good anymore?
The policy, it depends. So that's the thing. So some underwriters would accept it. I have been waiting to see if we could get a prior policy, but to find that from 20 years ago is tough, especially when the person that had that policy and might have those records is no longer living. And second, when the closing agent that handled that transaction is no longer.
So let me interrupt you for a minute.
Go ahead.
So typically about 6 weeks after you close, you should be getting an envelope in the mail. The envelope in the mail is going to have your title policy in it.
Yep.
You do not get your title policy at the time of closing. You get your title policy about 6 weeks. If you don't get something within 2 months after closing, you need to follow up with your agent, follow up with the title company.
Usually nowadays.
And keep this in a safe spot.
100%. Usually it's about 90 days at most.
Okay. 3 months then. Wait, 3-4 months.
Usually it's less than that, but everybody likes to say 90 days to give themselves a little leeway to work on the policy, get it issued. They usually send the deed at the same time, so you have the actual physical copy of the deed that was signed at closing for you to have for your records, because now everything's submitted electronically, so we don't submit the actual physical deed to the county. Now we get to keep that, and you get to keep that as a homeowner. So you have that as a homeowner, and you have your policy. So usually for some issues, there's, most underwriters will allow it to happen depending on the issue, and allow that to be used through the agreement that all the underwriters have with each other to cure an issue. But it's not always easy getting the prior policy either. You have to rely on a lot of different things, and my first instinct was to look at who the closing agent was on that deed, because at the top of the deed it has prepared by and recorded in return to, and that gives you contact information for the company that prepared it, or the company handling the closing. Sometimes there's two companies because you have a seller representative. They prepared the deed, and then it says return to the closing agent who handled the closing. So I looked there. There was a company. I looked on SunBiz. They were dissolved the year after the deed was.
Welcome to 2005.
That was exactly the time where we see a lot of the companies that.
It's probably right at the end of 2005, right when October, the hurricane hit, and our market just went into the.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's a problem that we see often with documents prepared at that time. And with companies that were existing at that time, like I said earlier, they're pretty much no longer around. So then it leads us to have to
Okay,
find
so the title
alternatives.
policy was not available. So the next thing is a quiet title action.
That's the extreme next thing.
And why is that so hard to get to a judge to grant you permission?
Well, you have to file a lawsuit in the county court, and you have to present evidence.
How much does that cost?
Several thousands of dollars usually, and it's usually 3 to 6 months. The fastest one I remember.
That's ridiculous, because obviously, clearly, you're figuring this out when you're like trying to sell.
Usually, it's a stressful time. Usually, it's because there is a death, or there's some other extracurricular that has made this difficult, and it just adds to the.
How can we make
levels.
our process a little more, stress-free, seamless, easier on all of us? I mean, why can't this be a little easier? Is there something that agents that we can do, something we can
I mean, I know you do your due diligence when you have, a prospective client. If you have a listing, you're looking at the property appraiser, you're looking at the last couple of deeds, you're doing your research before you take that listing appointment. So I can recommend that most people, or all realtors, should do that prior to having that listing appointment or going under contract. Do your own research, do your own due diligence. And that way you go into that knowing more information than, what you did before that, and you have all the public information that has been posted. You have it in your mind when you go to meet with these people. Sometimes clients aren't always truthful. Sometimes they have done.
Everybody thinks there's nothing wrong with their house.
Nobody, you're right.
Yeah. So.
So it's really doing your diligence, but I can't expect you to look at the last couple deeds and find that one unit number was missing.
Yeah, I really wouldn't have thought about, but now I am.
And then you learn every day, and so from now on, you're going to go look at the last couple deeds to make sure.
So we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back from commercial break, we're going to find out how did we figure this out, and how did we take care of this in a quick timeline in order to make sure we're going to close on time next week. Yeah. So check out our sponsors and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All roads lead home with Fairway Home Mortgage. When it comes to home financing, who you work with matters. At Fairway Home Mortgage, we combine the strength of a national lender with the care and accessibility of local mortgage experts. We offer a wide range of home financing solutions, personalized guidance, and a streamlined process designed to keep things simple, from application to closing. Because at Fairway, home isn't just what we finance, it's what drives everything we do. Connect with Cliff Bernstein, Branch Manager, NMLS number 7853 at 561-213-6852 to see what your options are today. Company NMLS number 2289. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Subject to underwriting approval, other terms and conditions may apply. Equal housing opportunity. Loan Officer NMLS number 7853.
At JK Closing Attorneys, we do all of the same things that a title company does, but with the benefits of being a law office. We can help with residential real estate, short sales, commercial real estate, refinances, 1031 exchanges, and FIRPTA withholding.
Contact JK Closing Attorneys today at 954-332-3111. Again, that is 954-332-3111.
Priority One Credit Union of Florida is a welcoming credit union that makes your financial success our number one priority. We offer lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, and common sense local loan approvals, with nationwide access through shared branching.
Hi, I'm Dina Hennessy, President and CEO at Priority One Credit Union. We are open to the community. Anyone can be a member of our credit union, and we would love to have you.
Contact us today at 954-335-5100. You can also reach us at PriorityOneFL.org. Your financial success is our priority. That's 954-335-5100.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at laurasell.com. And now back to the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am Laura Sanders. So, we're talking about chain of title, deeds, what to look out for, things that happen, even when you think there's nothing wrong with your house or something wrong with your house. I actually have another one right now, and I'll tell you real quick before I tell everybody what we were able to do with this one to actually get it done. And this was, honestly, the one that we were working on is really teamwork, right? It was teamwork 100%. That really, I say it's not being a lazy agent. I have another one that I actually thought it might need to go through probate, and you guys don't really do that. So I sent it to another local attorney and I said, hey, can you take a look at this and tell me if this needs to go through probate? And he looked at it, whatever. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to send it over to you. What he didn't realize is that on the deed, it said that they were a married couple. But when it actually went to go to closing and they pulled the title, they were divorced. Now, they bought the house in 1998. But they got divorced in Key West in 1979. So when they bought the house, they were not a married couple. Now, how this mistake happens, I don't know. So now the house isn't bought in tenants in, in common or tenants in entirety. So of course, now we have this issue that half of the house has to go through probate. Well, the wife, the ex-wife, is still alive. So the house would have went to his heirs, which was his daughter. His daughter died.
Wow.
Daughter has an 8-year-old daughter. So guess an 8-year-old daughter really can't sell a house, can they?
Guardianship.
But they're not in Florida, they're in North Carolina now. So it's like, now you gotta, when I tell you, realtors don't count your chickens before they hatch, because you're literally chasing those suckers all over the place to try to close. It's like, what is going on?
And I'm sure when you met that client, everything was perfect, right? There was going to be no problem.
Well, yeah, because how would you know until title came back that they were divorced in 1979 and they were as a married couple on the deed?
That's partly on them,
and it
too,
was actually
or all
quitclaimed into her name a year ago, and then a ladybird deed to actually go to the daughter who ended up dying first. It's like,
oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
But it's their fault for not being truthful. If they got divorced.
But why would you say you're married at the time of buying a house? It makes no sense. It's kind of, because that's a whole nother story, right? That I think that we might even have like a few minutes to touch upon, that if you're in the middle of getting divorced, don't buy real estate.
No.
Wait.
Definitely.
And if you really, so let's just say that you've decided that you're going to stay married and not get divorced for whatever reason, and you guys go off on your separate ways, and here it is 20 years later, and now you've bought a house, and you die, and you didn't like him, you just gave him a house with 20 years of equity.
Potentially, yeah. So it's something that they could have a marital interest in a property.
Yeah.
If it is,
life
a primary
everything, like whatever it is, like.
It can cause a lot of issues, and I tell people all the time, if they can wait for the divorce to be final. If not, and it's amicable, and I get a chance to speak with their attorneys, then I speak with their attorneys and see if they can add this into the marital settlement agreement, where if they do buy something, then they'll disclaim an interest, or they'll quitclaim their interest out after closing.
Which I did on a couple of deals recently.
And they have that agreement in writing on the marital settlement agreement, then I'm not so worried about it. It's when they're lackadaisical about it, or they do what you said, where they don't get divorced, they get separated, and then later somebody dies, and that's where it gets complicated.
Right.
And I mean, these are just so many different kinds of minutia of a detail.
So if you were married and you bought a house and you put your house on a ladybird deed, would that circumvent the ex-husband? And remember, this is only in a few states.
It depends.
What does it depend on? It depends it depends on the carrier. It depends. It depends.
It just depends. It depends on, everything is fact specific. And when you have a situation where a court could deem that, when in the divorce or in a future court case where there is a marital interest in that property, then that marital interest is protected by the Florida Constitution and the Florida statutes.
Even with a ladybird deed given it to somebody else.
Could, but then it just depends, because if it acts as a marital residence, it could lead to, in any way, because what happens if she moves in for, or he or she, the other spouse,
never let them in.
Comes in.
Don't let them in.
Then it's served as a marital residence,
Wow.
and it's a homestead. It's the person who bought the house's homestead. Then you have issues.
Yeah. So just remember, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the answers. Like the other day, I was telling somebody the other day, like, hey, this lady's 92. She doesn't have a will. I was like, she's got a brother but he doesn't want to go through probate. So do a ladybird deed. Like,
yeah. I mean, ladybird deed's great for certain situations, and some other situations require trust, some other situations require something else. So
right.
Very, like I said, it all depends. It's very fact specific on that particular
right.
case.
And before we go into what we were able to do to get this deal to get it towards where it's going to go to closing this coming next week, what's a good number for people to reach out to y'all when they need your expertise?
You can call our main office, 954-779-5000. You can email me personally, nick@jkclosings.com, or if you want to send it to our general legal email, we have a legal@jkclosings.com as well.
And if you're looking for a top-rated realtor, somebody that can help maneuver you through these situations, you definitely want to give me a call, Laura Sanders with RE/MAX Direct, 954-650-0827. Again, my name's Laura Sanders with RE/MAX Direct, and I can definitely help you stage your home, make sure your home's showing the best light possible. I have people that work with me that give you discounted prices. Even JK Closings definitely will reach out and give you the best deal if you mention my name. So again, Laura Sanders, RE/MAX Direct. So let's talk about what we were able to do. So you called me and told me, hey, we have an issue. And I'm like, yay.
Another one.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I'm not even making anything on this. I'm really not. So I said, okay, do me a favor. Text me the names of the people whom sold it to my client's mother, right?
I did that after I did a
Google
search as much as I could. I was looking for obituaries, looking for any kind of information I could get on these people.
And it's funny because I had a retired football player one time ask me, how did you get my information? And I'm like, I'm just very good at what I do. And he's like, no, tell me who gave you my information. Now, we work together, him and I, but he was like, how did you get it? I go, I'm just crafty, very crafty. So I ended up finding the one person's name, who then said to me, I never owned that property. And I'm like, yeah, you did. And then he said, oh, well, that's my sister. Because I said, well, who's this person? He goes, that's my sister. And I said, okay. He says, well, I'll reach out and I'll get her to call you. Next day she calls me, and of course, you have to be very careful who you talk to online, and I get it. So they don't know that maybe I'm not trying to steal their identity. I'm trying to do. They don't know who I am, right? So I said, listen, I'm just needing a corrective deed. I'm not looking for any money from you. I'm not looking for anything from you. Like, this is all I'm looking for is a corrective deed. And she was very hesitant. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and have the attorney give you a call, which you did. And funny enough, the realtor that had the property knows me. So I know a lot of people. It's kind of crazy, right? When I said, oh yeah, I know her, and you were like, it's just kind of crazy. So anyway, long story short, we have now been able to get both of them to agree to sign a corrective deed. Now, here's the thing. If one of them had died, we would have had to go to their heirs.
Yeah, there would have had to be probate.
And if they and then probate, and it wasn't worth it in this situation.
No.
So all I have to say is this just shows that we work as a great team.
100%.
And that the seller was very lucky. Otherwise, honestly, there was really no money in this, and they would have just had to walk away.
It's very important to people out there to really do their diligence in researching an agent that will not only sell their house or help them buy a house, but to work as a team with their team as well.
Nobody would have done this. They would have been like, I don't know. And you tried to find, so that would have been the end of that. Like,
yeah.
this was me, like, I'm always like, oh no, I can't let this just go. Like, I got to figure this out. And that's what I tell people, like, I'm always working. Like, when most people are at the beach or doing things, like, I'm literally sitting at my desk. People are out playing golf. I'm sitting at my desk working. I'm doing things. I'm walking. Like, I had a client the other day. I walked into their house and I said, listen, once they signed, because people get a little offended sometimes. And I said, I really think you should get your floors professionally cleaned and the grout painted. And they looked at me and I said, I'm telling you, it's going to brighten this house and make it feel newer, not older, fresh. While it was getting done, the owner texted me, oh my God, what a difference. Like, it's just the little things that you do. Like, and listen, not everybody needs to do that. Like, I have another lady, I just sold her house, and I was like, you don't need to do that. You're fine. Just leave it the way that it is.
See, it depends.
It depends.
It always depends.
As long as I'm not in depends, we're good. So, anyway, one more time, let everybody know what is a good number to reach out to you.
You can call 954-779-5000, or you can email nick@jkclosings.com or legal@jkclosings.com.
And if you're looking for a top agent, someone that can help you get your home showing in the best light possible, somebody that can help actually get your closing to the closing table that actually has a little extra common sense. And I'm not saying other people don't, but I feel like I kind of go that extra mile. And if you're looking for that, give me a call. Laura Sanders, RE/MAX Direct, 954-650-0827. And like always, thank you so much for listening to Making Money with Laura Sanders. And until next week, make it a great one.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827. Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. We look forward to seeing you next week.